Okay, I'm doing this video. I don't really feel the greatest. I don't know what it is. I think it may be something that I ate. I'm not sure. I'm just not feeling good. Stomach started bothering me yesterday. Headaches. Couldn't sleep at all last night. I hope it's not the big C. Not the C, like cancer, but the other C. The sickness. I hope it's not. I hope it's not. Actually, so I'm going to get onto the video that I'm going to talk about, but I got the J&J, which was really not the... I was desperate, man. I wanted a darn shot. I got these stress pimples. Look at this. Big old stress pimples on me. It's just been rough. But anyway, so the J&J probably at this point ain't that strong. I'm supposed to get a booster on Friday because the Noelle and the girls are getting... so Noelle's getting her booster today. The girls are getting their first shot today, later on today. And I was planning on mine on Friday, but hopefully that's not what it is, and it's a little bug or something, hopefully. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video, be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. This video is actually because there is a developer that has been watching my stuff, and I'm not going to say stealing ideas, and applying it to their projects. I'm not going to go into detail. I know exactly who it is. I'm not going to go into details, and to be honest with you, if my perspective can lead to greater things in Tacoma, I'm all for it. I think it's a great thing. Now, some people will say, what makes you think that? A, I know this developer. B, me and this developer we don't see eye to eye. Put it to you that way. Something happened. We don't see eye to eye. And I had the suspicion, because they know about me, right? Now, I cannot do anything near what they're able to do. They have millions of dollars. So it's not like, any of that. But when it comes to certain things, I do know what I'm talking about. And I've demonstrated that to them and to other people. Like, I do know what I'm talking about on certain things. Not on much. I don't know too much, but I know some things that are fairly useful. And I made a YouTube video, and I'm not even going to discuss what the topic was because it will go a little far with it kind of saying who this developer is. And I really don't want to. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of who the developer is and what they said and what they did and all that. Excuse me, it's not important, but this particular developer has been watching what I do, what I say on YouTube, and have been using that as a free way to gauge community interest, right? Now, I know this is so cryptic. I know that it is, but you got to be careful with accusations, because then that's a whole problem. But to be honest with you, there is a developer, and the project is... Hold on. See, the kids use the intercom. That was Sweets. So I do know for a fact that the developer had been following me and that type of thing on social media. And all of those, I prevented that, right? On YouTube, you can't really prevent it. YouTube's a different thing, because on Facebook, I can unfriend someone, or you can block a person, or You can, on Instagram, you can technically, if someone's following you, I think you can make them unfollow or something. I forget. But on all of these different social media platforms, with the exception of YouTube, you have those things at your disposal. And at YouTube, you do too, if you know who it is. Like if I know a particular person, I can block them. This is where they're not necessarily a subscriber, but they know my YouTube channel, right? So they go on and with me, I'm not a drama person. I don't really care. I think it's funny that you're spending millions of dollars retooling something that you had already played out. Here's the reason why I said that they follow what I said and they're actually doing it. You had a complete plan that was laid out, and it was well documented that this was plan A. And plan A had everything detailed down to a T, down to a science, everything. It had to be approved by all the proper folks and all of that. All of that was a part of it, right? And then all of a sudden, certain things had to change. Now, these other things that changed have nothing to do with what I said, but there was one thing that I did say that this is being thrown into the mix. And literally, it's almost word for word. There was a I'm not even going to say how I know it's word for word, but literally it's word for word what I said. Even references. I made references to certain things, and it's exactly the same. It's the exact same references from two different places that I mentioned. I mentioned two different locations, made a reference in a video, and that's exactly what is now. Not only is the two places I referenced a part of the concept in terms of what they're wanting to do, but the whole thing that I mentioned that should be done in Tacoma is also being a part of it. And these are people that I know directly, very well. So I say all that because from here on out, I'm not trying to give free advice to people that are very, very well, much more wealthier than me. I give free advice to people who, need it. I have the series that I do of, Ask Hirsch Noe, or if someone's moving here and they're like, hey, we're getting a job at such and such, and, we're wanting to know that. That's different. There's even a business that I'm meeting with on Friday that is a very well-to-do business. It's a big company. And if I am able to get them to secure a spot here in Tacoma, then that's another hat that I can say, look, I was able to do that. I don't even mind helping them, and I'm not even charging them. And the other party to this is a firm who doesn't need any help, right? So so there's four different sets of people. You have the one business that I'm been talking to. You have the realtors who are assigned to to basically bring in clients to lease out their space. They're very well to do. And then you have a developer, which is a big developer here, who doesn't need my help whatsoever. I mean, not at all, not even close. They don't need me. None of these individuals need me whatsoever, right? I'm a nothing when you look at what they're able to do on paper. But through proper networking and connections and different things like that, you can't put a price tag on that. You know what I mean? Like if you have the proper connections and networking, which is something you should definitely do, then that becomes invaluable. And that's where I come in and kind of make things kind of work. And there's nothing to say this is in stone, but it's if it happens, then great. I'm all about helping my community, 100%. 100%. But I also want to be recognized as being the person that helped make that happen. I don't want you to take a concept or an idea that I did and then just kind of take it on your own and then run with it. And so that is the issue that I have. And to be honest with you, the developer that I'm talking about that I'm bringing this one potential business to, that developer is by far bigger than the other developer that I'm talking about that actually kind of took my concept. Right? So it's not an issue of, well, there's this semi-big company, which if you think about in the development world, they're small potatoes, right? But when we're talking about Tacoma itself, they're sizable, right? Even with the other company that's much bigger, I'm willing to help them. That's just the type of cat that I am. I'm willing to help them. But I saw this information, and I actually almost woke Noelle up to tell her. I couldn't sleep last night because I was just sick, my stomach hurting, everything else. And so I'm just on my phone, looking at different things, and then I see this and I'm like, wait a second. Your concept was way different, like way different. And now you're changing everything within that one particular piece and you're putting this in? Like it's and Noelle started asking me questions. Well, when did you do such and such a video? When did you do this? When did you do that? And I was telling her, I'm like, she's like, oh. Right? So at the end of the day, I will say this. It's cool. It lets me know that, A, that there are the right people watching the channel. B, if it makes a difference to people in downtown Tacoma and they're able to have more experiences, then I'm all for that. The citizens of Tacoma rock. There's not a city on the planet, in my opinion. And when I say Tacoma, I'm talking about Tacoma and the surrounding areas, excuse me. There's not a city that I've been to where the citizens are this good. You know what I mean? They support local businesses. They're very giving, big time volunteers. It's just a really nice community. Even though you're in a big city or a somewhat big city, it doesn't feel that way. It's just very nice. Tacoma's big enough but small enough at the same time to where you run into the same circles with people. And I get that. But it has its own charm. It's a really great city. I talk to people all the time who talk about, I used to go such and such, or I used to go this, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like that. And I'm like, well, take a second look again, because things have changed, right? I always speak up Tacoma based on facts, not just to give credence where it doesn't need to be. There are issues in Tacoma that we have to address. But when it's the truth, it's the truth. And so I always tell folks like the truth on things. And I want the same back. But it's just funny to me that you're willing to spend multiple millions to retool something that was already planned, already in the blueprints, and you're willing to scrap that. Do you realize how expensive that is? You have to hire a firm, an architect, to come, basically look at the floor plan and lay out a design. That was done. That was done. It had to go through all of the people that have to approve it in the city. That was done. You then take that and say, no, we're not going to do that. And now all of a sudden you're redoing it down to the wire of like what I said. I would be curious because I gave some specifics in the video that I did. I'm curious if it's down to even that. I won't know for a while because, the project is being worked on. I won't know for a bit, but it's funny. It's funny. Next time I'd like a fee. if you're gonna take some of the concepts that I have, and these are things that work, this will work. The project will work for them. But give me a consulting fee. Shoot me $50,000 and say, cool, I appreciate this great concept that you did because it makes good sense. This isn't something that was really on the radar for others, but we thought this was really cool. Shoot me some sort of a thank you whenever there's a suggestion that you take. Because in the grand scheme of things, $50,000 ain't nothing. When you're looking at what they're doing, that's nothing. But I know for a fact, I can almost say with probably 90% certainty, 90%, just because of the wording that was used and how it was used, the terms that were used, and the two separate locations that I mentioned something about, and the specifics, all of those things, it's just not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that I know these people, they know me, they know this channel, and all of that. It's just not a coincidence. But anyhow, I mean, I'm not upset about it. I'm not bitter about it. I find it funny. And I find it, I'm a little bit, I want to beat my chest a little bit and be like, yeah. But on the same token, I'm like, wait a second. Shoot me some sort of a check. I do in terms of like, recently, I've been doing a lot of business consulting because I went to business school. So I've been doing a lot of business consulting and things like that. But it's not something that I'm necessarily doing for money. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not. What I typically look at and say, for one, I believe in a healthy downtown, period. If you don't have a healthy downtown, you don't have a healthy city. My energy has been exclusively, mostly in downtown. Right? Most of my thinking, all of that. I even talked to the one guy that I had mentioned early on where I'm going to meet on Friday. And he's like, you mentioned downtown a lot, but I can really set up anywhere as long as it works. And I'm telling him, like, based on this, I mean, you could do what you want. I mean, it's your money. But based on what you're doing, you're going to have a heck of a lot more success downtown. Downtown's about to pop. It hasn't popped yet. It hasn't even come close. So this is a long-term investment for sure. This is where you start at. This is where and that's the reason why. So for example, Dick's Drive-In. Dick's Drive-In is a very popular burger joint in Seattle. It's basically, I don't know how to explain it. It's a local favorite. It's kind of like Voodoo Donuts to Portland. What that is to Portland is the same as Dick's here. It's just a very popular place. Frisco Freeze is our popular place in Tacoma. To be honest with you, we never got any love from Dick's Drive-In. They don't, Tacoma was like, ew. Frisco Freeze, on the other hand, is like, we love it. I mean, they're a part of the community. They're a staple, right? Well, recently, Dick's have been trying to bring their food truck down here quite often. All of a sudden, the interest is to come to Tacoma. And the first time they set up, it was over there by the LeMay Car Museum. Because it's a food truck, and Tacoma doesn't do very well with food trucks in terms of the city statutes and all of that. I don't know why, but they really don't. And so they have to go to a private lot and all of that. So over there's plenty of private lots. I mean, it's big. There's plenty of parking and all of that. So people can park, they can walk right up, because basically you're bringing the whole restaurant and setting it right down. So it's no different than if you're going up to an actual Dick's Drive-In. Park your car, you walk up, and they, I guess, did very well, obviously, because it's got a cult following, for sure. And so I thought that was interesting. But then now, recently, they said, we're going to have 2 days that we're going to be down there. And one is at Point Ruston, and one is going to be downtown near the old courthouse, because that's where a lot of the workers are. There's a lot of heavyweights in that courthouse, that old courthouse building, just in terms of, there's a co-working space there, but there's heavyweights inside that co-working space. It just is. I mean, there's so many different things going on in that little general area that business communities know, the business community pretty much knows about and the city knows about, but the general public may not know yet, right? And so they're trying, my thought is they're trying to gauge if Tacoma is going to be a good fit. Because there have been so many people saying, please come to Tacoma. It's the same thing when Nordstrom Rack. We have been begging Nordstrom Rack to come to Tacoma. Finally they did, and it's always full and busy, right? So Dick's is similar. People have been begging for Dick's to be down here, as well as there's other places we've been begging to come to Tacoma. They haven't done it yet. And so this is one of them. And so my thought is they're just testing out the market because they're bringing everything. You can go to Dick's Drive-In, you can get a shake, you can get all this different type of stuff. Hopefully Noelle will get that call. Doesn't seem like she is. Yes, she is. So we're thinking that they're basically testing the market out, running little short analysis to see kind of what's selling, what area is doing what numbers, all of that. So you go to the Dome District, you test that out. You go to downtown, you test that out. You go to Point Ruston, you test that out. And you see which one's the busiest, at what times, what are they actually ordering, and all of that type of stuff. That's what I'm thinking. I have no clue. They may not even be interested at all in Tacoma beyond what they're doing, or they may be saying like, hey, in the next short amount of time, this is what we want to do. The market down here is burning up. I will say this, because this is okay to say. I don't mind if someone takes this because it's not revealing much information. There was probably a year or so ago when I would say that downtown does not have enough restaurants. That downtown Tacoma is lacking when it comes to restaurants. However, that is quickly changing. And I had spoken to an economics developer here, or economics development department in the city not long ago. She made that statement that it used to be restaurants, but now that's not a problem. We don't have an issue with restaurants. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. But then when you look at it on paper, which she has all that, tons of data and information. When you look at everything that's either planned in the works or that's here, yeah, I'm not going to say that downtown Tacoma is reaching a saturation point as far as restaurants go. No. But I do think that it is going to be, because we're able to absorb that. You see what I'm saying? We're able to absorb it just as a city. We don't have a lot of tourism. We do, quite a bit. But Seattle, when you look at downtown, that is a tourist mecca. We don't have it like that here. So a lot of what these restaurants are gauging themselves on are the dinner crowd. So the lunch and dinner crowd, weekend crowds, that's what they're basing everything on. When you develop all of these mid-rises and they're adding 1,000 different units, within a short amount of time, you have 1,000 to 2,000 people that are going to be downtown. Put it to you this way, the Tacoma Town Center, that one building is pretty much leased up as far as the residential part of it. It's pretty much leased up. I think there's like maybe 4 or 5 units out of that whole thing that's not. The rest of that is leased up. You see what I'm saying? Like it's just gone. And they didn't even really advertise. It's just gone. I know people that are on our Discord that is basically like, oh yeah, I have a place there. It seems like they have a long way to go in terms of development goes. And they do. But it's all leased up. And so a lot of these restaurants are banking on this long-term investment. It's not the work crowd as much as it is, we feel like we have a place where either the people who live down here will obviously have multiple different places to go to, people who work down here has multiple places to go to, and also the amount of people who come into the city just to come into the city. We feel that we're going to have a lot of people who will be able to eat at these different places, and it's going to be sustainable. We're almost at that point of where there's too many. We're almost. But when you look at what's going to be added in the next year, let's say the next year or so, it's getting there. It's getting there. When we're looking at downtown, it's getting there. It's not, again, we can still pop in another dozen restaurants downtown and we're probably still good, right? We're still good. But if you put in the right projects, it changes things. You got to keep in mind too, Trax. Trax is being developed by a Seattle developer, smart guy, or smart group of people, and they're going to make the bottom 2 floors of that a 2-story farmer's market. And their whole point is they want it to be a place where people come to eat. So that is a win for the Dome District, which already is going to get a slew. So to give you a little bit of an idea, there's a few projects. They're tearing down the whole, if you look at 25th Street, from where the parking garages are all the way to Pack Avenue, all those buildings are going to be knocked down, with the exception of the building that's on the corner. All of those buildings are going to be knocked down. All of them. So we're talking from one light rail station to another, all of those are going to be knocked down on that side of the street. That is an insane amount of development in the Dome District. And when you add up the number of projects, we're talking five separate buildings being built basically at the same time from different developers. There are at least 2 different developers building 2 mid-rises at the same time. So it's just boom, 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 boom. And then you have another one that's going to go in right on the corner there. It's just insane, right? It's insane. So this one developer at the very end, close to Freight House Square, is saying, why not turn this into a destination where people come to go and eat? So again, if you just look at what that project's going to do, I had mentioned it'd be great if we had a farmer's market, but like a building. Don't need that anymore because a developer is going to do that, right? So, and that's not a project that they took from what I said. They didn't take from what I said. This was a project that was already well in the works. They already had blueprints down for years. They bought the site years ago. They cleared the land probably 8 months ago. They already had everything sent to the city, submitted what they want to do. They've never changed what they said, period. They're finalizing details and tweaking and stuff like that, but they've always said they're wanting to have that as a farmer's market, right? They said this is going to be this is a unique thing because you don't see that down here, and that's very true. You really don't see developers doing that. They do very little when it comes to retail space. So this is a big game changer. So with me saying that, that's not them taking something that I said. They already are going to do that. It would have been better, however, if this was more in the core of downtown. But the fact that it's right there on the light rail line, awesome job. Can't wait for that to actually open. I think they're going to start construction very soon. November is going to be a busy month in terms of construction projects starting, and 2022 is going to be busy as far as cranes in the sky. You can drive through Tacoma now and see nothing but cranes. It's just insane the amount of development going on. But anyhow, going forward, certain bits of information I won't discuss on YouTube at all. Only when I know if it's a project that I'm directly involved in and I know that it's pretty much almost done. Like, for example, my meeting on Friday. If that goes forward and I know that there's things that are sealed, signed, and delivered right before there's a press release of it, I will do a video and upload it that day and say, boom, this is what's actually happening. I'll do that. But as far as from here on out, like giving out development ideas, I'm not doing that. So anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.